Hey there, in this video I'm going to talk to you about fractions and decimals. Now we know that fractions and decimals have a close relationship with one another. They represent the same value, so if you convert a decimal to a fraction or a fraction to a decimal, they still have the same value, they're just showing it in a different way. They're representing that value in a different way. Here are behind me are some examples of common decimals and common fractions that we would have to use in our math. Okay, so for instance, the first one here, 1. Now, 1 is just a whole number, it's a regular number, but it's still a fraction. If we go 1 over 1, that equals 1. So that's still a fraction. And that converts to 1.0. And then we have down over here 1/2, or 1 over 2, and that converts to this decimal, 0.5. And then we have down here 1/3, or 1 over 3, and that equals 0.333 as a decimal. Then over here, we have 1/4. 1/4 is equal to 0.25 as a decimal. And then we have 1/5, that converts to 0.2 as a decimal. And then we have down here 1/8, or 1 over 8, and that converts to 0.125 as a decimal. Then up over here, we have 1/9, or 1 over 9, and that converts to 0.111 as a decimal. And then lastly, down over here, we have 1/10, or 1 over 10, and that converts to 0.1 as a decimal. So I'm going to wipe this down, and I'll show you a couple examples using this knowledge here of how to convert a fraction to a decimal with these basic understandings. All right, so on the board now I have an example of 2/5 is equal to what? We're trying to convert the fraction 2 over 5, or 2/5, into a decimal. I have over here in the green our conversion of 1/5, which is equal to 0.2. So we're going to use this as a guide to figuring out how to get 2/5 and convert that into a decimal. So down over here, if you take a look, I already have it all written out. Well, I'll explain it to you. We can look at 2/5 in this way, as 1/5 plus 1/5. And we know that when we're adding fractions, we only add the numerator together. If the denominator down here is the same, okay, we can add them together, but we're only adding the numerators together. And then we know if 1/5 is equal to 0.2, then we could write 1/5 plus 1/5 as a decimal addition question. 0.2 plus 0.2, because we have 1/5 plus 1/5. Okay, now down below here, like I said, when we're adding fractions, you only add the numerators together if you have the same denominator, which gives you 2/5. That's the fraction we have up here in our questionnaire example here. And then, if I'm adding decimals together, you go 0.2 plus 0.2, that gives you 0.14. Now, in an earlier video, I showed you how to add decimals together. So hopefully you checked out that video before you looked at this to see how to add these together properly. But that gives you 0.4. So our answer to this example, what is the decimal conversion of 2/5, is 0.4. I'm going to wipe this down and I'm going to give you another example to end off this video. All right, here is the second example I have for you guys. We have 3/4, or 3/4, is equal to what decimal when we convert it? Have over here in the corner our conversion from 1/4, or 1/4, to 0.25. So 1/4, or 1/4, is equal to 0.25. And again, I have all the work down here, and I'll explain to you how we got to this. So we know that 1/4 is 0.25. So we got to figure out what's this decimal conversion of 3/4? Well, let's do an addition with our fractions. We have 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. We know that they have the same denominator, so we just add the numerator together. That's what we do with fractions. And then we know that since 1/4 is 0.25, we could have an addition question when it comes to decimals again as well. 0.25 plus 0.25 plus 0.25. We're going to add all those up. And that would give us the answer down here. So we know that 1/4 plus 1/4 plus 1/4 is equal to 3/4, or 3/4. And we know that 0.25 plus 0.25 plus 0.25 will give us 0.75. Therefore, our answer up here, 3/4 converted to a decimal, is 0.75. Hopefully those helped you out. Hopefully that helped you a bit with converting fractions. There is one more thing I want to show you after this, but I'm going to show you in a different video, okay? It's not going to be as long as this one. Okay, make sure you check this out, and then after this, I will show you take a look at the other video that I'm going to be making that has to do with fractions and decimals.